Behind the familiar image of the Sacred Heart of Jesus found in countless Catholic churches and homes lies a story that began with the visions of a humble 17th century nun. Visions recognized by the Church that changed the piety of millions. Why does the image of the Sacred Heart resonate so deeply across the world? This devotion finds a pivotal origin in the reported visions of a humble 17th century French nun, Saint Margaret Mary Alacoque. Today, we'll journey to the quiet visitation monastery of Paray-le-Monial to explore her extraordinary experiences, the profound message of love and reparation she conveyed, and how this personal encounter grew into a cornerstone of modern Catholic spirituality. You'll gain historical insight, spiritual understanding, and perhaps a new perspective on a familiar symbol of faith. The story finds its beginning not in grandeur, but in simplicity. Margaret Mary Alacoque was born in 1647 in the Burgundy region of France. From an early age, she is described as a sensitive and devout child, drawn to prayer and a deep love for the Blessed Sacrament. After facing family opposition and illness, she finally entered the Visitation Monastery at Paray-le-Monial in 1671. This order, founded by St. Francis Delaware Sales and St. Jane de Chantal, emphasized humility, gentleness, and an interior spirit, a fitting home for the young nun. Historical accounts paint a picture of the 17th century French Catholic landscape, a time of both deep piety and, in some quarters, a rigorous, less emotionally expressive spirituality. Within the convent walls, Sister Margaret Mary was known for her profound humility, her obedience, and a sincere desire for suffering out of love for Christ. She reportedly experienced various mystical graces even before the major apparitions began. Her personal spirituality, deeply centered on the Passion and the Eucharist, formed the fertile ground for what was to come. The consensus across sources is that she was not seeking extraordinary experiences. Rather, they were granted to her in the context of her ordinary, hidden life of prayer and penance. It was from this foundation of humble prayer and love for the Eucharist that an extraordinary experience is said to have unfolded, one that would give the world a powerful new symbol of divine love. The defining moment is said to have occurred during the octave of the Feast of Corpus Christi, most likely in the year 1675. While praying before the Blessed Sacrament in the convent chapel, Sister Margaret Mary reported that Jesus Christ appeared to her. In her accounts, he showed her his heart. It was, as she described it, a heart on fire with immense love for humanity. This fiery love, however, was met with a painful reality. The heart was depicted as wounded, encircled by a crown of thorns, surmounted by a cross, and visibly pierced. According to her testimony, this imagery symbolized how his infinite love was met with indifference, scorn, and sacrilege by many. The vision is not recorded as a gruesome medical spectacle, but as a profound theological symbol. The flames represent the burning, unquenchable love of God. The thorns and wounds signify the pain caused by human sin and rejection. The cross above reaffirms the connection of this love to Christ's ultimate sacrifice. This apparition, often called the Great Apparition, is considered the most explicit revelation of the devotion's meaning. It moved the focus from a general love of Christ to a specific, loving contemplation of his heart as the seat of his emotions and his sacrificial love. This striking image was not just for contemplation. It came with a specific request and a profound promise, turning personal revelation into a universal invitation. The vision was accompanied by a message, a twofold charge from Christ as understood from Margaret Mary's writings. First, he is said to have expressed sorrow for the ingratitude and coldness of humanity, especially toward his love in the Holy Eucharist. In response, he asked for reparation, acts of love, prayer, and penance to console his wounded heart. This was not merely a private devotion for the nun, but a request to be communicated to the wider church. Second, and specifically, he promoted the practice of receiving Holy Communion on the first Friday of 9 consecutive months. This practice, known as the 9 First Fridays, was accompanied by a promise of great graces. According to the transmitted message, those who fulfilled this practice were assured of receiving the grace of final perseverance, the strength to remain in God's grace at the moment of death. Furthermore, Christ is reported to have asked for a special liturgical feast in honor of his Sacred Heart. The message emphasized that this devotion was a path to accessing the immense treasures of his mercy and love. It presented the heart of Jesus as a refuge for sinners and a source of solace for weary. The core, as summarized by many theologians, is an exchange from a human side, loving reparation, from the divine side, an outpouring of mercy and grace that makes holy. Yet, delivering such a heavenly message on earth is rarely simple. Margaret Mary's path was immediately met with a very human response: doubt and disbelief. The reception of these experiences within her own community was far from immediate acceptance. Sister Margaret Mary's claims were met with intense doubt, confusion, and even ridicule by some of her fellow sisters and superiors. This period is described in sources as a time of profound interior suffering for her, as she struggled to obey her superiors while remaining faithful to what she believed she was commanded to share. Her simplicity and lack of formal education led some to question the authenticity of her visions. The turning point came with the appointment of a new spiritual director to the monastery, Father Claude de la Colombière, a Jesuit priest known for his intelligence and discernment. After careful examination, listening to her in confession and observing her life, Father Claude became convinced that her experiences were genuine and from God. He became her crucial supporter, guiding her and, most importantly, beginning to preach and write about the devotion to the Sacred Heart outside the monastery walls. His role was essential. He provided the theological credibility and external validation needed for the message to begin its journey beyond Paray-le-Monial. This dynamic highlighted a common pattern in church history regarding private revelations: initial doubt, ecclesiastical investigation, and the need for wise guidance to discern and integrate such experiences. So, how did this devotion survive its difficult beginnings? Its journey from the silence of a cloister to the heart of the universal church is a testament to both its powerful appeal and official recognition. What began in the silence of a cloister did not remain there. After the deaths of both Margaret Mary in 1690 and Claude de la Colombière in 1682, their writings and the devotion they promoted slowly spread, first through Jesuit and visitation networks. The practice faced periods of theological debate, but continued to grow in popularity among the faithful, who found in a relatable, heartfelt expression of faith. The Church, after lengthy investigation, ultimately gave its formal approval. In 1765, Pope Clement XIII authorized a feast of the Sacred Heart for Poland and specific dioceses. Widespread liturgical celebration was later permitted. The most significant endorsement came in 1856 when Pope Pius IX extended the Feast of the Sacred Heart to the Universal Church. Subsequent popes, especially Pope Leo XIII, who consecrated the world to the Sacred Heart in 1899, and Pope Pius XII, who wrote an encyclical on the subject, strongly promoted it. Today, the devotion is deeply woven into Catholic life, seen in images, prayers, the Litany of the Sacred Heart, and the continued practice of First Fridays. The legacy of Saint Margaret Mary Alacoque, canonized in 1920, is perceived by believers as opening a pathway to a more intimate, trusting, and loving relationship with Jesus, centered on the symbol of his heart as a fountain of mercy for the world. The journey of Saint Margaret Mary Alacoque shows us how a deeply personal encounter can resonate across centuries. From her humble cell in Paray-le-Monial, a message of reparative love and divine mercy began to spread, finding its confirmation in the guidance of the Church and the hearts of the faithful. While the private nature of her visions remains a matter of personal belief, the public devotion to the Sacred Heart that grew from them stands as a powerful, Church-approved pathway to contemplating the depth of Christ's love. It serves as a lasting reminder that the response to a wounded world is not a distant God, but a heart that burns with love, inviting all to find refuge and solace within it. For many believers, this is a true miracle, an endless fountain of mercy, revealed through the simplicity of a willing heart. If you found this journey into the origins of the Sacred Heart devotion meaningful, please consider subscribing to the channel. It helps you never miss our explorations into the stories and traditions that shape our faith. A like on this video lets us know which topics inspire you and helps others discover this content. We would love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever had a personal connection to the devotion of the Sacred Heart? What does this symbol of love and mercy mean to you? If you know someone who might find comfort or inspiration in this story, please share this video with them. It's a simple way to spread a message of hope and love. Thank you for watching. May the peace of the Sacred Heart of Jesus be with you always.